Hello friends, this is Scott, and this video was shot on April 8th, and I am back at my favorite nursery, Arbor Day Nursery in Riverton, and this is my second trip to this nursery this spring. First was for compost, but now I'm needing to spruce up the front yard, so this is shredded black mulch, or shredded black bark. Now, most people judge the economy based on gas prices. I think I'm going to start judging the economy based on bark prices, because the bark has gone up at least 10% from last year. I used to get 2 cubic yards, which is 2 scoops of this bucket, for about $118 with tax. Now I'm in the high 120s. So they've definitely had to raise their prices, and in turn, we're paying more money. Now, here's what 2 cubic yards of bark mulch looks like in the back of a truck. Now, this material is light, so it's not a big deal to pile it high, but I would never put this much dirt or topsoil in your truck, because you'll bottom it out. Now, we're back at my front yard, and we're taking a look before I apply any of this bark. As you can see, there's no bark left on this side. I put all new bark 2 years ago, and as Mother Nature does, and the wind and everything else, it blows it away, it uses it up in the soil, and bleaches it out. So it's doing what it's supposed to be doing, but now it's the sad reality that you got to keep doing this. You just can't put bark once in your yard and expect it to stay. It's an ongoing process. Now, I'll never use this black dyed mulch where I'm going to plant vegetables for consumption. This is just the front yard decorative. I'm not sure what's in the dyes, so I'll use it for my flower beds, but I won't use it for my vegetable beds. But here's some that I applied last fall. I wasn't able to do the whole yard last year. I ran out of time, but you can kind of see it still looks fairly decent, being from last fall to now. Well, here's where the work begins. And you have to believe me when I say that I'm excited to have this bark at my house. My facial expressions don't really show that, but it's exciting. There's not much you can do in your yard so quickly that just changes the look of your and visual appeal of your landscape. Now, before applying this mulch, I did go through and weed most of the beds and got most of the weeds out. Again, I'm using this as lasagna method. This is just top dressing. When I want to plant a plant, I will pull the bark back. I will dig a hole, put my compost in, plant the plant, and then pull the bark back as a mulch. Never mix this material in the soil, because it'll bind all your nitrogen and your plants will yellow up and die. So this is just for weed suppression, moisture retention, and looks. This material will break down at the soil level, and all the bugs and fungi and bacteria and everything will be in here breaking this material down, and the worms will come up and drag the nutrients down into the soil. So it does add fertility over time. And when people see a truckload of bark, they think, oh, this is going to take days to do this amount of work. It's not that big a deal. It probably takes an hour to unload this material if it takes that long. Again, when you're doing compost and soils, it's a lot heavier generally, but this is very light material. And I don't mind doing the front yard because it's a short walk. But in the backyard, I've got to walk all the way around the corner, down the stairs, and it takes a little bit longer. But the front yard is just a quick back and forth. Now, I need to rake this out a lot more, but I did grab a rake and do a little raking. But over time, this bed will just flatten itself out. I'm not going to be too concerned about it, but I'll spread it around. I wanted a couple inches thick in the front. In the backyard, I wanted a lot thicker because I am growing vegetables and I need to retain more moisture because of our drought situation. With the front yard, a couple inches will do, just enough to suppress weeds and keep some moisture in the soil. These plants are perennials and bushes and trees, and most of them have very significant root structure, so they're not going to need to be watered that much. Now, here's a quick look at what a freshly mulched area looks like versus a not mulched area. So as you see, it really does add a lot of visual appeal just with a little bit of effort. So I just keep on filling buckets and keep on dumping buckets and using my feet as the best tool I have for this process. And like I say, I just want to show a little bit of the work because it does take a little time, but it's not the end of the world. But if you want to be successful in doing this type of gardening, you have to do the work. This yard will go to crap in a year if I don't keep adding mulch and bark to it and keep weeding. But over time, the soil will improve, and the layers of bark will hopefully thicken up if I stay on top of it, and it'll all turn more beneficial over time. Now, doing this amount of work is also beneficial, obviously, physically, because this is my gym membership. During the summer, Spring, summer, and fall, I'm just working hard, and conditioning isn't a big deal. I usually coach in the fall, which I think I'm stopping doing that. So I've got to figure out something to do in the winter to stay, fall and winter to stay in better shape. But I'm not really worried about staying in shape in the summer because I've got lots to do, and everything takes a little bit of physical effort, and it doesn't hurt me any. Now here I'm dumping the last couple buckets on this portion of the yard, and so I accomplished today what I wanted to accomplish with the material I purchased, and just to get everything looking uniform. And here's a quick look at how it looks now on this side of the yard. And it's a little bit hard to see with the sun. It's not the best time to be filming, and I haven't watered it in, raked it in, or done any of that. So this is just a visual color test to see how things look. Now I do bury some ground cover, things like that. If it's meant to be, it'll come back through the mulch. It's not that thick of a mulch. I do need to prune some lilacs right here. As you see, there's some suckers. I've got to come in here and cut those out. But overall, I just wanted to kind of show you how much material it takes to do this much of the yard. And I still got more to do, as you can see there. But here's a look at my mess on the street and how much material I have left. Even after doing that whole side of my yard, I've still got this much material. So my guesstimate would be that I probably have 3/4 of a yard left in here. And so I'm going to use this. I'm not going to film much, but I'm going to show you what it looks like when the truck is empty. Here's a scan around the other side of my yard that I have spruced up a little bit with the remaining compost or bark that I had in the back of the truck. So 2 cubic yards pretty much made everything look better. So I needed to put new in one half and then just kind of freshen up the other side. First truckload of mini bark is done, and that concludes today's video. Thanks for watching, and if you like what you see, please subscribe to my channel, like, share, and comment, as I love to hear from you. I've had some interesting comments lately, and I've enjoyed all of them. So thank you very much for your support, and keep marching forth in your garden.